just absolutely amazing. And that last song was really an incredible song to sing. Let your light shine on us. Not only does God's light shine on us here in Meridian, but God's light shines all around the world. And 7,000 miles away, there's another fellowship that is over there that worship God and that loves God and are incredible people. Brian Coberson saw my shirt and he says, you had to travel 7,000 miles to get a shirt like that. And well, actually, Lori's wearing a dress the same pattern, and these are a dress that some of the brethren over there gave to us some years back and so forth. I've got like a box full of African clothes that I don't get all that many opportunities to wear and so forth. But anyway, this trip was a wonderful trip. It was an effort that I think that you'll be proud of that you were involved in, and that we were able to accomplish a lot of great things for the Lord. Just so you are reminded that the goal of the mission work is to further establish and to build up strong churches over in Cameroon. And just to help the congregations throughout those efforts through American campaigns such as our seminars, as well as evangelism trips that are made. Every year, Jim Corner leads a team for the seminars in February and into March, and then every year he leads 2 evangelism campaigns, one in June and one in October, and its primary purpose is to go out and to preach the gospel and to go house to house and or at least hut to hut and share the gospel with people that are there, and there is a lot of souls being won over in Cameroon. Our work is a great work, and when you think about the work that Laura and I were involved in, we did it as a team, and so you can see behind me those that were there. Jim Corner is wearing the Texas hat. He's from Garland, Texas. Jean-Claude Ete, he's the brother that's on the ground there, and I know Jean-Claude since he was just a young man, and I think he's now 53 years old and so forth. And of course, Lori and I were a part of that team, and so we flew in. We left home here on a Tuesday morning. And we flew from here to Seattle, and we left Seattle and flew all the way over to Paris, which was about an 11-hour flight. Got to Paris, we connected with a flight, and then flew to Douala, which is about a 9-hour flight, and got to Douala around about 7 o'clock in the evening, so it was extremely dark there. Cameroon is on the equator, about 50 miles off of the center of the equator, and so the sun comes up at the same time every day, it goes down at the same time every day, and usually by 5:30 in the evening, it's getting dark, and it will be dark by 6 o'clock. And so we flew in at 7 o'clock, which means it was dark outside, got our luggage all together, and finally got to our hotel rooms around, we probably got there around about 10 o'clock or so. And eventually we were able to get some sleep, and then we spent the next Thursday and Friday shopping and buying different kinds of materials that we were going to be using on the seminar. And then we, of course, then left Douala and on the French side of the country and began traveling to Kumba for the first leg of the seminar and so forth. And you can kind of see the luggage that we took. So Lori and I take 4 50-pound bags of luggage, one of them being food, as well as 2 carry-ons, which are about 35 to 40 pounds each, and then a backpack. And so we carry that all with us, and then Jim has the things that he has. He leaves all of his stuff over there mostly, and so he only has like a bag or so. But that's all the luggage on top of that van, and so we got inside the van and we took off. I had pictures of the van where it says no vomiting, no fighting, no sticking your head out the window, and all that kind of stuff. But I put together a PowerPoint program Thursday night, and then I worked on it all day Friday, and I had too much on there, and the thing kept crashing on me, so I had to redo the whole program on Saturday morning. So anyway, but it was incredible, those pictures that are there. And so we asked Jean-Claude, well, what if you have to vomit? And it says, no vomiting, but you got to vomit. What do you do? And he says, well, then you hang your head out the window. And so forth. In those vans, we rent those vans, and there's the driver, and then Jean-Claude, and then Jim and Lori and I, which amounts to 5 people and so forth. And that bus will carry 15 people to 17 people in it. And so we buy all the other spaces so we can travel in comfort and so forth. But if you were a person that was traveling across country, then you would absolutely fill up that bus completely to overflowing. And so that's why they say no fighting, no vomiting, and no putting your head out the window and so forth, because they're looking for air and so forth. So that's the first leg of our trip. We left and we traveled on Saturday, and we got to Kumba, and the hotel that you're looking at is a new hotel. I've never stayed there before, but it's a new hotel, and it's called the MacLord hotel, and it's got about 5 stories or so, and maybe 6 or 7. No, it was 8 stories. It's 8 stories tall and so forth. And I found out after we got home that they had a fire there, and that McLeod caught on fire, but I'm told that they were able to put it out. The fire brigade was, and so that's good news. But that's where we stayed. For the first time in all the trips that I've been to Africa, we had toilet lids. That was pretty incredible. We never had hot water though. So we took cold showers every day and so forth. But nevertheless, it was very, very comfortable for us. Well, we got there in the afternoon, and we kind of got ourselves in our rooms and got situated and so forth. And then we left, and we went to Madai's orphanage. And that's one of the things that you as a congregation were really excited about and wanted us to go and play a part in. So we got to Madai's orphanage, and they were really excited about us coming. We brought several taxis, and we brought tons of food. We brought these huge bags. Well, you'll see them in a little bit, but huge bags. But they were really excited about us coming there. And as we drove up, they saw us and they ran out to us. And so we were giving them some of the items that we had brought along. And so you can see some of the children putting it on their heads and carrying it down to the home and so forth. On your right is Lori and I, and that's Diana. And she's just an incredible woman. She now has 43 children in the orphanage. The last time I was there, it was 28. It's grown up to 43. The youngest one was 6 weeks old, 3 weeks old, was the longest, just a little tiny baby who's laying in on the bed, and someone just gave it to her, and so she is raising that baby all the way up to full adults. And some of the young men that you'll see here in a little bit are adults that came there as children, and they've grown up under Madai's watchfulness and have become men, and now they are there working in the home with her and so forth. So she has 43 children, and you can see all the children off to the left there, and you can see those big giant bags full of food. Well, I wasn't sure exactly what I was buying, because normally when we go there and buy, we buy rice, or maybe we might buy beans. And so I thought, man, those are huge, and they're so big that like 3 guys could not lift those things up. They're giant, giant bags. And so I asked them, what's inside the bags? Peanuts. And I said, what are you going to do with like 5 bags of giant, 300-pound peanut bags? And he says, we grind the peanuts up and make them into a mush, and we use it for all kinds of stuff. And so they were super excited about it, as well as we bought a number of big giant boxes of dried fish. And you can see, or not dried fish, but fish, and you'll see the right here, you'll see these boxes here. Those are full of fish, and so we bought all that fish there, and we asked her what she was going to do with it, and she says, well, I'll take the fish out, and we'll flay it even more so, and we'll dry it. And so we'll dry the fish, and we'll use it for making soups and all kinds of different kinds of things of that nature. And so we bought a bunch of bags of peanuts, and we bought a bunch of fish, and we bought beans, and we bought condensed milk, powdered milk, and just a lot of things of that kind of a nature. There is this little baby that was inside on your right, is the little baby that she has now that's 3 weeks old. Lori held her. I took a picture of her, but it was so dark you couldn't see really what was going on there. On your left is their kitchen, and so that is the kitchen that they cook in every day and so forth. Now, I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm bringing a lot of money here, so maybe I should talk to them about making an inside kitchen, putting up some cinder block walls, only to find out that right behind that kitchen there, right behind there is a room that is right there, and they could put the kitchen inside there, but use it for storing things instead, and so they would rather cook outside. And so that was pretty cool, I thought, that they did that. And then you see all this wood that's back there. Someone donated a big old bunch of pile of wood, and then they'll go out there and they will chop it up, and that's what they'll use for making their fires underneath their pots and so forth. So that's their kitchen. One of the things that I thought was pretty interesting is, as I asked them to give me kind of a little tour, is they took me to a chicken coop. That's the first. They didn't used to have chickens there. Now they're raising chickens, and so that they can use them for feeding the children and so forth. And they had a pig. And that was the first time I ever saw a pig at the place. And so they're raising a pig, and they'll either slaughter it, or if it's going to be a sow, then they're going to breed it. And so they'll make more babies and things of that nature. So they're trying to do some things on their own, like raising chickens and raising a pig, so in order to slaughter it down the line. These are the 2 young men I was telling you about. that were just small boys when they came there to Maudai's, and now they're full-grown men. They are 21 and 22 years old. They don't look that old, but that's how old they are. Maudai has the home that's right there is the ones that you've been seeing, but she also has a home that's probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away that is a home, and so she has the young children at this place here, and then the older children live at the other place. And one thing that they added that I had a picture of, but I wasn't able to show it to you was she has added a 2-story building right behind the kitchen for a school, and so now she's got a school for the children that they're going through at the 2nd story and so forth. And I went up there and took pictures of the blackboard and the benches that they sat on, which are really crude, but nevertheless they're really making some really great strides that are there. They have a fish pond. They made a pond and they've got fish in there, so they're trying to raise fish as well to eat. So that's some great things there. So we're getting ready to leave, and I had a video of them singing a song to you, and it was a sweet little song. But my computer actually would handle it. That and back there would not. It just said, we're not going to do that. And so, but they had a great song that they were singing to you and so forth. But so for the Kumba orphanage, we gave them $2,000 to help that work there. Clothing was $600. We gave them $180 for Bibles. We gave them $900 for food. And then we gave $200 to Maudai. I said to her, you cannot spend this money on the children. This money has to be for you to buy you a dress, for you to go out and eat at Ruth's Crisp or whatever. But but this is for you. This is not for the children. And because Maudai, if you know her, she'll spend every last penny on the children because that's just who she is and so forth. And we told her that you can't spend the $200 on anyone else but herself, but she probably, I don't know what she did, but anyway. So we left there, and then Sunday, while Clint was preaching here 8 hours later, I was 8 hours earlier preaching in a congregation called Farm Road. The reason why this is an interesting congregation to you is the building that you're looking at on the right, that used to be their building. That's what they worshiped in. And it's behind this building here, but they built a new building. Okay, so you remember I said to you that what we've told congregations there is that if you put the foundation in, you put the walls up and the trusses up, we will zinc them. We will put the roofs on. And so you have given me quite a bit of money over the years, and so we are responsible for buying this roof. So we paid for the roof on this building here. And that's a great congregation because they have almost probably quadrupled in number over the years and so forth. And so that's a congregation that is doing extremely well, and some of their wellness is because of what you have been doing for them. I'm trying to think of their preacher's name, and I'm just drawing a blank. Tell me my translator that I had at Kumba. Yeah, Glenn. Glenn Baysong was my interpreter and translator, and he's the preacher there. And I've known Glenn since he was I think he was 17 when I first met him, and now, of course, he's a full-grown man and so forth, and he's a preacher at Farm Road, and during the seminar, he translated for me every day, and he's just a great guy. Well, after Sunday was over with and preaching and teaching, then Monday morning it starts in earnest, and so we get out of bed about 6 o'clock, and we start preparing for the day, and we begin teaching in the seminar. In the morning, I will teach the men various things and for about 3 hours or so, and Lori will teach the women. So the men have the hall, the women have the hotel, which has an air conditioner, which has AC, which it makes the men always extremely jealous. They're always angry about that fact that the women get the AC. And the bad thing about it is if you'd seen a picture of Lori in there, she's wearing a sweater. And the women are wearing sweaters because it's cold in there because they're not used to. Most Africans really don't like AC. John Claude likes AC, but almost the rest, like his wife, she doesn't like it because it's too cold inside the room. And we only have it at like 25, 23 degrees centigrade. So it's not like it's super cold. I like it like it's 17, but So anyway, so we began the seminar. One of the things about the seminar is a little bit like our lectureship, in that it's a great time for the congregations to come together, and they reconnect with one another, and they get to know each other a little bit better, and they're able to share because they come from all over the English side that come down to this seminar. Now, here's the thing about the seminar is that you can come to the seminar, but you can only send 2 representatives. You can send 2 males and 2 females, but you can't send anybody who wants to go can't come to the lecture or come to the seminar. Only the leadership is able to come, and even at that, we have very, very large crowds of people that come to it. But when during breaks and so forth, that's what they go outside, and like we would, they go outside and they visit and reconnect and just have a really good time. This is Jim teaching in the seminar. This man's name here is Lawrence. He is a principal in a school. The school on the English side, the teachers and lawyers and people of that nature are on strike right now. And because of wages and things of that nature, and to some degree, they're wanting to secede away from the French side. And so Paul Biya, who is the president there, he sent the gendarmerie, sent the army in and said, that's not going to happen here. And so they shut down all the schools. They shut down all the lawyers' offices. They shut down all the schools. And so the only schools that are running there for the last 2 years now are the federally run schools or the state-run schools. But all the other schools, they're shut down. And so they're in the midst to some degree of a civil war. And it was pretty scary over there because generally when I went through check stations, you just go through a check station. The worst they might do is say to you to pass your passport outside the window, and they look at it, make sure your visas are all right, and they give them back to you. This time they may just come down out of the thing and get in line with all the other people and walk through, and gendarmes would check us out and see if all of our papers were correct and so forth. And we had heard that not all that many days later or earlier that they had an ambush by some of the guerrilla fighters that are there that had ambushed the gendarme, and some of the people that were in the lines got shot up and so forth. One of the days that we were there, the preacher, his name is Ingal Williams. Ingal is probably in his 70s or so. He was telling me that he had a hard night's sleeping that night because there was a lot of shooting outside his quad. And obviously someone had attacked the gendarme command post and so forth, and so they had shot a couple of them and killed them. So there were people getting killed, and so they had a 6:30 curfew, which meant that after 6:30 everybody used to be off the streets. And so it was a little bit more dangerous there than what we are normally used to, and so forth. But Lawrence is one of the, I'm sorry, his name's Terrence. Terrence is one of the school principals for those schools and so forth. And so he was incredible in terms of being a translator. And you can kind of see the crowd. The room was always full in the afternoon. So I teach for 3 hours in the morning. Lori teaches for 3 hours in the morning, and then Jim teaches for 3 hours in the evening or in the afternoon. And we usually get out of there around 6 o'clock or so in the evening. And so sometimes we were stopping a little bit earlier so they could get off the streets and need to be where they needed to be before the curfew hit and so forth. To the right to your right is just more people. You can see the crowds that are there, and to the left you can see that one white woman that is sitting there who is trying to endure a lesson and so forth. I had this picture here to show you that I actually did go over there and teach, and so that's Glenn and I teaching. My class, I think I had like maybe 100 or 150 men, 130 men, something like that I was teaching. And I taught them this year, I didn't teach them mechanics of any kind. Jean-Claude told me the next time I come that I'm supposed to do a workshop on developing or the mechanics of writing a sermon, textual sermons, topical sermons, textual or expository sermons and things of that nature. So that's what I'll do this next time. But this time what I did is I talked to them about fixing their eyes on Jesus, and I talked to them about grace, because grace is something that they are sorely in need of in Cameroon. So I talked about that, and they said that I shared with them things that they had never heard before, and so they really enjoyed the classes a lot. These to the right here are, to your left, are the village preachers. The village preachers, we gave $620 to them. It's mostly travel money. These men here work with various village congregations, and they'll go from village to village, maybe 2 villages a weekend, maybe 3 villages a weekend, or they might go out on evangelism trips and so forth. And so that's a little bit of a stipend for them to live on, as well as monies to travel in the country. And so we gave them $620. On the English side are these preachers here. These are all English preachers, except for Jean-Claude. He's really in Douala. But anytime a camera comes out, Jean-Claude wants to take a picture. But of these men here, Of these men, we helped 11 preachers, and I stipend with $165 each. In the past, I've given them $50. This year, because of your generosity, and I took so much more money than I expected, this year they had a really hard time. I don't know if it was the crops were bad or if they had a run on the crops and they didn't give them any money. Their money at the market was so down. But the money was so far down that a lot of the guys were really suffering. The preachers over there, for the most part, are itinerant preachers. And so they are not full-time preachers. The only way they are going to be a full-time preacher is if an American is supporting them and fully supporting them. And so at one time, Andrew Maliki was fully supported by the Loveland congregation. And I think we gave him something like $90 a month or something to that tune. And or maybe it wasn't even that much. It wasn't very much, but we put him on a 5-year drawdown. So the first year he'd get $90. The next year we're going to drop it down 15. The next year we're going to drop it down 15. The next year we're going to drop it down 15 until it's all finished. And hopefully the congregation is going to take up that support that he lost. But what we've learned is village congregations can't do that. They just don't have the money. I mean, they're farmers. They give very, very little money and so forth. And so we gave them that money there to encourage them and to keep them in the ministry, because it'd be very easy for them to just go to their farms and not preach. But they love God and they want to preach, and so we helped them. And so I gave them each $165. My plan was to only do $100, but because you gave so much money, I thought I can do $165 and I'll make their day, like in a big way. And it really was something extraordinary that will help these men. And so don't think of it as being, I gave them this much money to last them a year. No, that money is going to go for 2 years, because I'm not coming back for 2 years, and no one else does that. Does what I do, except, and I only do it because you helped me to do that. And so we helped 11 of those many preachers that were there to stay in the ministry and to farm and to do their merchant work, as well as to preach on Sundays. This here is Dennis Asikapo and his wife Patience. And the reason why I have him up there is that Dennis is an itinerant preacher farmer. He lives in Mato Village. Mato Village is a huge village, but it's got a huge congregation. Years ago when I went there, that congregation was like 30. Now today it's right at 250, 300 members in that congregation, and grows, and it's growing because of that guy. It's growing because of Dennis. Dennis is a super hard worker, but he's a farmer. So he has to spend a lot of time working in his farm, and so he doesn't have as much time to spend with that congregation because of its largeness. And so he came up to me and he said, "Richard, could you help me buy a farm?" And I said, "Okay, tell me a little bit more about buying this farm." He goes, "Well, I can buy a farm for $1,000. And I thought, "You can't buy a farm for $1,000. So I said, "Okay, well, listen, Dennis, listen, I can't make this decision on my own, so I want you to come up to my hotel room, and Jim and I want to talk to you." So Jim and I both talked to him about what's this $1,000 and so forth. So he explained, I can buy the land, the farm property, for $500. I need this much to clear the sticks. I need this much to plant the seeds. I need this much to make baby cocoa seedlings. I need this much. And it amounted to $1,000. He had it all on paper. And so I thought, wow. This would, because Dennis, the farm that he's had in the past, he walks a day. He walks from his village. He walks a day out into the bush to where his farm plot is. It's not even his plot. He doesn't even own it. It's another guy that owns it. And so whatever he raises there, he's a sharecropper is what he is. And so he has to take whatever money is there, and he cuts whatever he grows in half by like 60%. He gets 40, the owner gets 60%, he gets 40%. He's allowed to grow plantain, he's allowed to grow bananas, he's allowed to grow, but they're not cash money crops, they're subsistence crops for his family. The money crop is cocoa and so forth, but he's got to give 60% of that money to the owner. And so he said, if I had my own farm, then everything that is there is me. I own it all. And it would be so much easier. So if I grow cocoa plants, and he said, it's going to be a 5-year deal. I won't be able to start seeing a cash crop for about 5 years as I plant the cocoa trees and they grow up to maturity and start producing. But he says, but everything I grow on it will be for my family and for helping even the members in the church and congregation and so forth. So I thought that it was a good investment into him. And Jim thought the same thing, and so we took from the monies you gave me $1,000, and it went to Dennis, and he bought the farm, and he has it all laid out how he's got it all broke down, and it's going to be a good thing. And he is an honest man. He's a good man. So I trust him. Sometimes I won't give money to people because if you give money to people, if you give them $1,000 or $2,000, you're afraid they're going to eat the money, which means we got plans to do this, but something else has come up in his place, and so we eat the money, and we're not going to do that. But Dennis will buy the farm. He told us who the guy he's buying the farm from was and all that good stuff. So he has it pretty well put together. These are the people that were at the Cameroon seminar. So you can see that it was a pretty good sized group of people that come to the seminar, both men and women. So that was the Cameroon. Now I took this picture here, and you're wondering, where did he have pictures like that? Well, on the left side is no playing of games in the church premises ordered by the church. I thought, well, that's awful, that's kind of, what's the word I want, primitive. And then I thought, wait a second, it seems like we have something like that in our church that says absolutely no skateboarding, rollerblading, or bicycling. I guess we should put by order of the church. But we have them on this wall here in the building, then we have it on that wall there. And for years, Lori and I and Karen, we'd have to go out there, and Clinton, we'd have to go out there and run people off because they're out there rollerblading and skateboarding and all this stuff. So it's not just a Cameroon thing. The one thing they have here that we might ought to start doing here is over there they have walls up, and you'll see it where it'll say, off your phones. Off your phones. Turn your phones off. Put them on silent. You can turn them off. And so maybe we should do that in our congregation. Off your phones. These are just some sights and sounds I thought you would find interesting. This place here is a cafe. It doesn't look like a cafe to you, but on the wall over here is the word that says cafe. And so they're actually making dinner. On the other side of this building here is the Kuma Town Hall building, church building. So it's separated by just a walkway, and then there's this place here, and inside that room right there is where the little cafe is, and they make fufu and they make fish and different kinds of things like that. And so I saw that, so I took a picture of it because I thought it was a cool picture. I took a picture of it, and then I took a picture of some of our members that were inside there eating at the cafe, but I wasn't able to keep that picture. But I thought that was pretty interesting. Right beside the cafe was a seamster. So he has got his sewing machine out, and he is making a dress or something like what I have for someone. The little girls on the right, they've got these rubber bands that are between them. Little rubber bands, and they were doing this hopping and jumping around on them, and I don't know what that was about. But they were having just the best time, but I had to shoot them from like 50 yards away. So they didn't know I was shooting them, So I tried to zoom in as much as I could and took a shot of them, but I thought it was just really, really sweet. They're just, they're poor, but they're happy. They're just happy people. Well, that ended that trip there. So we'd spent about a week there and so forth, and did some work with the itinerant preachers. We did some work with Dennis, and we did some work with the orphanage and so forth. And then we traveled back to Douala. And this is part of the trip. Inside the van that we're in, I told Jean-Claude, I said, I want to sit in the front because I want to take pictures. He was okay. Right on the front, on the dash, is that sign there. My family is covered with the blood of Jesus Christ. And I thought that was really cool, so I took a picture of that because when you get in vans, that's a dangerous kind of thing. And so you got to kind of remind yourself of where you're going if you were to get dead and so forth. And then, of course, this is all just alongside the road where they're selling plantain. They sell cocoa yams, they sell pineapples, they sell bananas, they sell everything imaginable alongside these little road deals. And so I just took some pictures of them as we went along and thought you'd find it interesting. And I don't know what there is about me, but I love car washes. And so here's a car wash, but right here is a church, is a sign, Church of Christ. So the Church of Christ is somewhere around there. I don't know if they own the car wash or not, but anyway, there's a Church of Christ around right there. And then this was a town that we just came into. I think it was Mayukas that we were coming into in this town right here. This is the church at Bensa Bakundu, and this is Bakundu, and it's a congregation that is there at that place. And I took this picture of it because you see that building right there? We put the roof on that. We paid for the roof. And I had other pictures of churches, but you get the idea is that we put money into roofs, and we have used it. Now, some of the money that you gave me this year, I was going to dedicate to buying roofs. But just before I got there, they had spent some money that I had left behind from the last trip, which was about $3,800, and they had done 3 roofs. So they had depleted the money. So they just got new roofs. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to do new roofs this time. We'll do something else this time, and and then when we go back, maybe in a couple of years, we'll do roof money again. But we've already, I don't know how many roofs we have done, but we have done a lot of roofs. This congregation has, in terms of paying for them. This is driving back, and just some of the pictures. On your right is a rubber tree plantation that probably Michelin and Dunlop owns. And then to your right is a place called Tico, and it is a town that's kind of higher up in the a little higher elevation, and so they raise flowers and different kinds of plants. And I don't know who buys those things, but they have them on both sides of the street, and they're absolutely beautiful. For those of you who love gardening and flower gardens and things like that, you would absolutely love this place because it's incredible. As we're driving along, we stop on the way at a Del Monte or a Chiquita place, and I always want to buy bananas there because they have the best bananas in the world there. And when you pull up, here they come running with these things of bananas, and they ask you how many fingers you want. And so we'll say we'll have 10 fingers or we'll have 12 fingers. So each banana represents a finger. Okay, so they gave us a bunch of bananas. I shouldn't be eating bananas because I'm a diabetic, but I always figured God understands if I eat 3 or 4 of these bananas, he will understand this. This is another roadside here. This is meal that's ground up for making bread and for making different kinds of fufu and things of that nature. This is just kind of a montage of just all the things you see when you're driving on the trip. We got to Douala, and this guy's name here, that's Martin. Martin is Lori's driver. He drives for a living. So Lori was talking about the ladies about praying in class, and she was saying to them, she goes, you can pray anywhere. And you can pray when you're fixing dinner. You can pray when you're washing clothes. You can pray. And she goes, one of the times I pray is when I get on the back of a machine. And she goes, that's when I do a lot of my praying, on the back of a machine. And Lori, she doesn't ride like you're supposed to ride on a machine. If you ride on a machine, you sit on the back and you put your hands on your knees and you just kind of sit there and let your weight keep you on the thing. Lori doesn't do that. She grabs the back of their shoulders and she hangs on. And so she was telling, she goes, so I pray when I get on the back of the machine with Martin. And Martin, one of the ladies in the class said, Martin is the best driver in Cameroon. You don't have to worry. And Martin, it really is a great driver. Now, this is on Saturdays and Sundays. He does not wear a helmet. Monday through Friday, when he's driving, because he's a machine driver, he's a taxi driver, so that's how he makes his living. He wears a helmet. He wears a catcher's vest. He wears to armor himself up, and he puts a big jacket on. He puts things on. He's got a sweater around his neck. I mean, and I asked him, why do you wear all that stuff? He goes, so I don't get cold. Seriously. So anyway, we got back from Douala, or from Kumba, and we're coming into close to Douala, and Martin meets us there because we're supposed to give him stuff. And so John Claude, along the way, he bought a big old jag of plantain. We had bought several fans while we were there, and so he's putting these fans on there. He's got Jim's luggage on there. He's got more. Anyway, he loads all this stuff up, including right there is his backpack, and right here is bananas, and right there is pineapples. So he's going to take that. I believe that he's taken that to Jean-Claude's house, but I think he's taking the fan to his house. I think we gave him the fan to take to his house. On the left there, I thought that was a pretty interesting picture because we're driving along, and here comes this 3-wheeled like motorcycle thing, and there's a bed here, and in the back of this bed here, you can't see it very well, but there is an entire cow there. Only it's been slaughtered. And so they just have all the meat packed in there, and it's kind of jiggling around and so forth. And you can't see it, but there's the cow's mouth, and there's the cow's tail or something like that. But anyway, there he is. So I thought that was really, guys, we like that stuff. So I took a picture of it, Okay, so now you're wondering, what is this? You never know what you're going to see in Cameroon. I've seen guys driving down the street on a machine with, seriously, 30 feet of rebar bent around, dragging it behind the machine. Or guys going down the machine with a driver on front and the guy on the back is the passenger, and he'll be carrying some channel bar, iron channel bar that's probably 25 feet long, like that, and they're going down the road with all this traffic, and they don't have flags or nothing on that stuff. But that's how they do it. Well, this is the first for me. So I see this pig, and it's on a plank, and it's strapped down on the back of this motorcycle, and I'm looking at that pig, and I'm going, that pig's blinking. And it's breathing. That pig is alive. It's a live pig. So I asked John. I wrote to Clinton. I said, that pig looks so worried. I said, I don't know if it's worried because it's his first motorcycle ride or it's last. Because guess what the pig's about? I asked John Clinton, I said, what's the pig about? And he said, the pig is the bride price. So it's part of the dowry. And so a groom has bought the pig, and the pig is now being transferred to the bride, and it's going to be a part of the dowry that's paid for her marrying this guy here, and she has to accept the pig or not to accept the pig. If the pig's too small, she'll say, no, go get a different pig. I'm worth more than that pig. And so John Clyde says, so what the grooms do is sometimes they try to grease the wheel. And so they'll phone call like a week ahead of time and say to the bride, please accept the pig because I cannot afford a bigger one. This is much. So tell your parents, encourage your parents, tell them that you are accepting the pig. And so John Claude says, but the Muslims, he says, they've got onto this, and so they take the phones away from them the week ahead of the marriage. So they can't whittle the thing down there. So that was the price of that pig. And so I asked John Claude, I said, so is that a good-sized pig? He goes, that's a good-sized pig. And not only that, but it is not a hog, it's a sow. It's a sow pig. And so John Claude says, they may not kill this one. He says, they might keep her and breed her. So John Claude's word, he says, that's a girl pig. That's a girl pig, and they may not kill her. They might keep her and breed her so that he has baby pigs, and they'll sell the baby pigs. But he says, but if they're hungry, they might kill it and give the head to the dad. She said, Helen, how did they get it? I don't know how they got it on that. But I tell you this, that pig's got a bloody nose. It does have a bloody nose. But that pig it was as live as I am alive right now. And it was being hauled, and I thought that was crazy. That's something you don't see in Meridian, ever. So pig on the back of a motorcycle, the bride price. So we got to Douala, and so we got there on Saturday. It was travel day, and so we did some shopping that evening, and then Sunday I went to Dakar, and Dakar was the congregation that I preached at and so forth. And so this is the Dakar building. This is it. And this is Julie, and that's their preacher right there. And that's the inside of the congregation. You can see that it was pretty full. It's a small building and so forth. And this is the membership to your right. So I took a picture of them. And you talk about singing. We sing well, but those people there, they raise the roof when they sing. They really sing. And if they don't, they'll say, brethren, we have come here to worship God, and so let's all listen, we have to sing. Sing loud. And they do. They just really encourage that. So that was great there. I gave away most of my, probably 3/4 of my candy at the orphanage, and probably the rest went probably here. Started giving the candy away, gave quite a bit of candy away here. Well, I gave a lot of candy away out Farm Road as well. Douala Seminar. For those of you who have never seen this before, the church in Douala that we do the seminar is Cité de la Paix, City of Peace. And Cité de la Paix, if you've seen this in the past, their building used to be, as you recall, was a foundation with wood walls and a corrugated tin roof. That's what it was. Well, they've been saving their money. And remember I told you last time I showed you a picture of all the bricks that they had been making? They make a brick at a time. They got a form, and they make the brick. They buy the sand, the water, the cement, and they make their bricks, and they just keep storing the bricks. And so they got bricks piled up everywhere. Well, they finally got enough of it together, and they built this building here. And so the wood building structure came down, and the new building went up, and it's right here. And you can see Lori looking inside it, and right inside there is their foyer. That part up there where you see all that junk up at the top of it, that's going to be the second story. And that's where they'll worship, is up on top there once they build the building up there. And the room that I'm going to show you is the one that they're worshiping in now, but will become their classes and their hopefully printing presses and things of that kind of a deal. So you can see their building is nice. I was really impressed because in times past when I went there, remember, it's always hotter than blue blazes. I mean, super hot, corrugated tin roof, the sun is beating down on you. That place had like 6 ceiling fans in it. And there was an AC in there, but they never plugged it in the whole time I was there. So, and I think John Claude would always say, he says, we can't do it because we don't have enough current. So we just ran fans. But the fans were like my best friends. When I teach, I'd kind of teach from fan to fan. Yeah. Simone Parfait was my interpreter, so I said, you just have to follow me, man. So that's the guy, that's my interpreter's name is Simone Parfait. You, as a congregation, have heard of him because we, as a congregation, I think we spent like $2,500 on him one year to help him because he got an eye bacteria where he is losing his sight. He's going to go blind. Seriously, I mean, it was bad. I remember seeing his eyes that were really bad. And so we paid to help him go for a trip over to France to see an eye specialist. And then he came back, and they did some stuff procedures while there and gave him medicines and so forth. And so when I got there, I was talking to Jim about where can we spend the money, and he said, well, one area is Simone's probably going to need some money for his eyes. But when we got to the seminar, his eyes were great. His eyes are really doing super good, so he's not even having to buy medicine for him now. So he's got his eyesight, and he has his eyesight because of you guys. Otherwise, I'm serious. Money doesn't come up. It doesn't grow on trees there like it doesn't grow here. He would have lost his eyesight if it hadn't been for us coughing up that $2,500, as well as a few other people being able to send him over there to get him a specialist that would help him. So I'm teaching, and in this class here that you're seeing there is I have them broken up into small groups, and I'm having them discuss what does grace mean to them, and how does grace apply to their lives, and what are some things that they see every day that where God is being gracious to them. And so they talked about, and then we come together and talk some more about that. So I was teaching every day. Lori is also teaching in the ladies' class over at Hotel LaWatt. Obviously, I'm teaching while she is working, so I can't take pictures of her. And for some reason, Jim just didn't do a lot of pictures over there this year. So but she always had her classes were always big, about 3 times bigger than my class is, and they work really hard. Lori did an incredible job here. This here is the ladies all holding up their bookmarkers that Michelle Mendiola made for our ladies there. And so they're all holding them up and they're waving. And Michelle, they absolutely loved those things. I tried to convince them that I was the one that made them, but they weren't buying it. But it was, they loved those markers. And Lori made them prayer books or journals as well and gave them to them. And anyway, the ladies absolutely loved the class, and they loved Lori and asked her if she could not think about coming over there and living there. And I said, well, she can, but I can't. I'm busy. And this is the ladies' class out on the veranda. So they took a picture of all the ladies there that were present at her class. This here is a picture of everyone in the seminar on the French side. This is all of them right here, okay? And these are the French side preachers. Of the French side preachers, Jean-Claude is full-time. Julian is full-time. The preacher at Bonaberry, he's not full-time because he's a businessman. He owns a business, and he's a bookkeeper, and so he doesn't take any money from the church. He does it free. Louis Beside, that we have supported in the past, he was full-time there. But Louis is at Harding, and he'll graduate in May, and then he'll go back in July. And we don't know if he's going to be the preacher there or if he's going to be a traveling missionary, but he's probably going to go back with money because he's probably networked and so forth. But most of these guys are not preachers. All the preachers from the north, none of them are paid. These are church representatives from the north. When I say north, I'm talking about way north. If you look at the map here, I'm talking about coming from the north. This up here is called Marwa. This place here is called Garwa. This place here is called Incandaderi. And this place here is Douala, and then on to here. It takes them 28 hours, those brethren, to take that trip. In the north, they have no full-time preachers. In the north, they have no formally educated preachers. All the preachers there, all of the preachers there are itinerant preachers, and all of them are farmers, and they're hard workers. And so they chose as a representative from the congregation to send these people here that I just showed you. So they sent men and women down there. And so it's a 28-hour trip. Okay, to put that in perspective, when I go to Cameroon, it takes Laura and I 28 hours to fly there. It takes us 28 hours to go from Boise to Douala, 28 hours. For those people there, it takes them 28 hours to come from Marwa down to Douala, which means from Marwa to Douala, 28 hours. Marwa to Garwa is 4 hours by bus. Garwa to Ngandaderi is 4 hours by bus. When I say bus, we're not talking about Greyhound. When I'm talking about bus, I'm talking about buses that normally 4 people sit, 2 on each side, and so forth. On these buses, they sit 7 across. And they pack them full. And so they rode 8 hours of bus rides. And then they get down to Ngandaderi, and there they get on a train. And they ride the train for 14 hours. Once they get to Yaoundé, they then get on a bus and they travel to Douala. The price for them coming down was $1,855 for all those people to come down. And we paid for that. So Jim could have took it out of the Cameroon Missionary Fund, but I had the money, and so I said, let's let Linder Road pay for that money there. So we all pulled them into the office, and we all gave them, I think it was like 180,000 francs each, that paid for their bus trip and their train trip, as well as it's a round trip, so they're going to go back. Okay. That trip there is a dangerous trip, by the way. That is not a safe trip. That's a dangerous trip, and yet they come anyway, and so they're very precious people. The mission in the north, we spent $4,000 on that mission work there. We also spent $800 on North seminars, and we spent $1,000 on a generator. Now, the generator is so that they can go from village to village and do street preaching, where they'll put up a Joe Miller film strip, and in order to run the Joe Miller film strip or whatever else, they need a generator to do it. So they carry the generator with them. And they do evangelism that way. And they couldn't afford a generator, so we bought the generator. The northern seminars, the travelers are Jean-Claude, Simon Parfait, Julian, and their wives. They go up there, and they'll make 3 trips up there every year, where they go up there and they do seminars, and they teach them and educate them and deepen them in the faith, teach their women how to teach children and all those kinds of things. And so we paid for the northern seminars for them to go up. Notice it says the North Corn business to augment preachers' salaries. The preachers are not paid there. Not paid. They preach, they farm, they live off what they farm, and they preach. Congregations are fairly small up there, so none of them are paid anything. And so they came to us with a proposal, and the proposal is that a number of these people that I showed you are businessmen and women. They're merchants. And so they said, we have a proposition for you. The proposition is that we need a $4,000 one-time gift, finished. You'll never have to do this again. And that $4,000, what we'll do is we'll go to farms and we'll buy corn seed from the farms at $10 a bag, which are big bags, $10 a bag. It takes us $2 to transport them, so we'll buy $10 a bag. We'll transport them for $2 to a warehouse, and we will buy up to $4,000 worth of corn. And what they do is they buy it at the early part of the season. They don't buy it in the markets in the city. They go out to the farms and buy them at the farms at a reduced price of $10. In town, it's going to be $15. They buy it at $10. They take that corn and they store it in a warehouse. They do this in October and November, and they store the corn. They just let it sit there. And that's during that period of time. It's going to sit there, and they're going to hold it there until February or March. And by that time, the corn has run out and it's down. And so, like any market, the price goes up. And so that corn that they bought for $10 now is going to raise up to $18 to $22 a bag. And they'll sell it at that price there. And they said, for each year, we'll do this every year exactly like that. It's going to cost us $4,000 to do that. We'll make an $1,800 to a $2,200 profit. From that $1,800 to $2,200 profit, we'll take that and divide that among 12 preachers. And we'll give them travel money, because they don't preach at just one congregation. They preach at 2 or 3 congregations. And we'll pay for their travel money, and we'll give them a small stipend for their work's sake. And that's what we're going to do with money. And so Jim and I sit down and talked about it, and we said, you know what, that sounds like a good investment to keep preachers in the field and keep them working. And it's going to cost us one time this year, because we told them, the bank's broke, and they said, no problem, we can do this. If you can start us off this way, this is what we're going to do. And so that's what we did. So we did $4,000, 800, and then 1,000, and you can do the math, and that's $3,000. So there's Simon Parfait and his wife Nadesh, and I already told you the story about him, so I won't go into that anymore. I'll try to move through this. This is Roderick Papabou. Roderick is the preacher at Yokoduma, which is a faraway place. It's over in the east of the country, so it's in a faraway place there. There's not doctors there, or if they have a doctor, it's a clinic, and it's going to be a PA. But Roderick has a heart problem, some kidney problems. I don't even know what a Vicodin headache is. You know what that is, Kevin? What's a Vicodin headache? I thought it was a Vicodin headache, but I don't know a Vicodin. But it's bad. And he was really sick, and so we gave $575 to him so he could go and see a heart specialist in Douala and get himself checked out and get himself well so he can preach. And so that's where we sent the money there. This is Lori riding on the back of a machine along with me. So we doubled one day because the machines didn't show up, and so we got to get there, and so we both hopped on the back of a machine, and Martin drove us to the church building. Generally, we always rode a machine every day. To your right, for those of you who said, how come you didn't lose more weight? That's because I ate so well. And everything we ate was out of a can. So it was all cold. So if you ate ravioli, it was out of a can. If you ate beans, it was out of a can. If you ate corn, it was out of a can. If you ate beans, it was out of a can. Green beans, that is. So it all came out of a can. Tuna, Lori ate a lot of tuna, and so we would put it all on top of each other, mix it all around, and kind of make it like a African soup. I thought to myself, I told Lori, I said, we ought to have the congregation over, different members over the congregation for an African meal. Here's your can of ravioli. Here's your plate. Here's your plastic spoon. Bon appetit. Worship at Bonaberry. You already know about Bonaberry, so I won't spend a lot of time there. I thought you'd find some of these pictures that were interesting. The picture to the top right is a woman. She was cleaning fish. Her husband must be a fisherman because she cleaned fish almost every day. And so I went over and asked if she'd let me take a picture. She said yes. The man down below is weaving a chair, a basket weave chair. Beautiful work. And so I took a picture of him. That cost me 1,000 francs to do that. 1,000 francs is less than $2, by the way. And then you see the little boy. And there's three of them, and they've got these tires out, and they're pushing them with a plastic bottle. That was their toy. And they were just having the best time doing that. And I thought that was pretty cute. Eric, this week when I gave my contribution, I put my check, and inside the check I put a $1,000 franc. I thought he'd be really impressed with that. So he got it, and he opened it up, and he said, $1,000 franc? I wonder what that's worth. That's worth 520 francs. That's lying $2. But I thought he would think it was a lot of money. But this is the going away, and so they sang as a song. The ladies came in and sang as a song, and they gave us some gifts. They gave me a shirt that I couldn't even wear. It was too small for me. So this is the luggage I was telling you about. And this is mission accomplished. Hours taught at the seminar, 90 hours in all. Over the two seminars, 90 hours of teaching was done. Preached and taught at Farm Road, at Dakar, and Bonaberry. Helped 11 preachers on the English side. Helped 7 preachers on the French side. Total $3,150. 5 village preachers, $620. Kumba Orphanage, $2,000, and then the rest. Bibles for preachers, $600. I left $600 behind and instructed them to buy, I think for $600 we could buy 12 Thompson Chain study Bibles for preachers. They're hardback things. They're not cheap, so we bought Bibles for $600. Dennis's farm cost $1,000. Northern Brethren Travel was $1,855. Northern Seminar $800. Generator $1,000. North Corn Business $4,000. John Claude gave him $200 for his work's sake and everything that he did. And then the Cameroon Mission Fund was $500 that I gave to Jim for a total of $16,725. So that's where all your money went. The rest of it went to me. When I say it goes to me, it went for our plane trip. The plane trip and for our staying in country for a little over 3 weeks or so. So that's where the balance of that money went. So I tried to spend every bit of your money, and I tried to be as conscientious as I could about it. And I don't know if it's everything that you wanted it to be, but I was there, and I'm 7,000 miles away, and I got to make a call. And so I thought those were all wonderful things for us to be a part of and to bless those people with. And the money, I'm just going to tell you, the money is well spent money. And you have blessed another fellowship on the other side of our world. So thank you, thank all of you for allowing Lori and I to go on this trip and to do the work that is there. Thank you for your prayers, your encouragement, your financial support. Couldn't go there without you. It'd be very hard. And certainly could not do all the things that we did. But you have blessed those people beyond your wildest imagination. I mean, those people's lives are blessed because of you. Okay, so I went really long, haven't I? Which means next week, I'm not going to cut him out for next week. So why don't we just, since it's so long, why don't we just, do we need to end with a invitation? So the invitation is yours, and if you need to come, we're going to sing a song, and then once you come while together, we stand and sing.
We'll just sing one verse. You hear me when I call.